I am the current president of the American Mental Health Counselors Association, and I'm very proud of that. But one of the things I'm equally as proud of is my association with a gentleman, Dr. James Messina, Jim, who is one of the co-founders of, and I believe the second president of, the American Mental Health Counselors Association. I have worked with Jim as a colleague in private practice, and I've worked with Jim as a colleague in academia. I have listened to his stories, probably each story 10 times, and I've listened to those stories over the course of, Jim may be the longest relationship I've ever been involved with. I have heard these stories for well over a decade. Stories about how the association was founded, stories about the trials and tribulations, our decisions to differentiate ourselves from the American Counseling Association, challenges getting license written. Remember, this association was founded in the 70s, and Jim was there, involved with licensure laws in Virginia and in Florida. So Jim's played an intricate part in the association for off and on for probably half of his career. One of the stories he tells me that's really interesting, and a lot of folks don't know this, is how we got the name. Jim was adamant. At the time, Jim was working for a community mental health agency in the panhandle of Florida, I believe Pensacola. And back then we were referred to as community counselors. And Jim was upset with that title, that description. He thought of us as mental health counselors. And so he insisted that the association use the word mental health. Remember, he helped co-found it. So his voice was pretty loud back then. There was only a handful of people initially. And the part that's really unique and that most folks don't know is the decision to use counselor versus counseling. The American Counseling Association may represent the larger field, but the American Mental Health Counselor Association represents the practitioner. And he thought that using the word counselor instead of counseling would distinguish us from, at the time we were a simple division of ACA, or actually we were looking forward to becoming a division of ACA. I think it took like 20 members back then and an agreement to pay attention to the bylaws to be a division of ACA. This was back in the 70s. And so that's a unique little story, and interestingly enough, I believe it's carried on to this very day. We are the association that works to advocate for the needs of the counselor, the individual practitioner. So while we may have a gazoodle zillion members, all of our focus is not on the larger field of counseling. All of our focus is on that individual practitioner, whether they're working in a community mental health agency to this very day in Pensacola, or they're working in the VA, or they have a small office somewhere in Michigan, or they're doing in-home work. It's that individual counselor is who we're dedicated to.